Yeah. Make sure I've got this. Okay, we'll go ahead and start with 3D modeling for those people that are online. If you are online, just throw something in the chat so that I see that you are there. We have so many people here that are in person that are with us. So we do have to kind of balance out if I'm going through this and you need me to do that task again, by all means, just tell me to stop. I'll go through it. People that are online, just throw that in the chat and I'll try to go over it again. But as a quick introduction, this is Introduction to 3D Modeling with Tinkercad. This is going to go up to about 12, maybe end a little bit early. I have a lot of stuff, so we can push it up all to 12. If you have any questions, we'll address those whenever you have them. My name is Zach. For those who have met me and not met me, I'm the instructional technologist here in the Digital Learning Lab, and the Digital Learning Lab is sponsoring this workshop. This is the last workshop of the semester. We will have way more of them uh, next academic year, focused in many other things. Some of the stuff that we have in the Digital Learning Lab, like the laser engraver, we'll have a workshop with that. You can get to laser engrave something and take that home with you. We have robotics, we have the cricket, so all of those things are coming up uh, next year. But we'll go ahead and get started with this. What you will want to do is go to tinkercad.com. I will put that in the chat. tinkercad.com. And I should probably put this on the right channel. So when you get to this page, you see in the upper right hand corner where it says join now. You can go ahead and click that if you don't have your own account, which you may or may not. If you get here, you should see create a personal account. It says students join a class, but that's only if some teacher has made an account and has added you and everything to a specific class. So that doesn't apply to us. You create your personal account. You can do it however way you want to. If you're a person that has Google signed into your computer and it's just like a one-click done thing, you can, or you can do it with an email and kind of customize which email that goes to. Once you have your email, once you've clicked the email, you'll click your territory, put your birth date in. I'm just going to put a fake one, hit next. It's going to ask you for your email. You're going to establish a password, and then you're going to accept and sign your life away with the privacy statement and create your account. It may or may not send you an email verification thing where you have to click it to enact it. Uh, Other than that, if it doesn't do that, it should bring you to something that sort of looks like this, maybe without all the stuff inside of it. Is that correct for you? Yes. Stream is working fine. Thank you, person that I've yet to put your name as the contact. Okay, so we're going to go through a lot of tools here, but I want to eventually get to touching on some of these models that are up here on the screen, and you'd be able to do at least some of these by the end of the session. So we've got a little keychain. The main focus today is the die, uh, the cup here, and then the Mega Thor's hammer here. That's not exact replica, but gets the job done. But again, these are things that you can all 3D print. So if at the end of this you want to take your file and go up to the 3D printer and print it and then have it, you are more than welcome to do that. So back to this. So on this screen is where you see 3D designs, circuits, code blocks, and lessons. There's a lot of extra things that are in Tinkercad that you can do. If you're into electrical circuits, code blocks is somewhat programming with your 3D designs. But this is all in the cloud and it saves all your designs for everything that you've ever made in your life. So over here where it says create new design, you can click that and it will open you up to this work plane. I'm going to continue verifying with you because you're here. Are you there? Okay, you're good. Yeah, you're fine. Now, Tinkercad does this weird thing where it names it some weird thing. Like if you look in the upper left hand corner, mine says Brilliant Robo Santia. I don't know what that is, but if you're never going to remember what that is in relation to what you're designing, you can click that and change it. Like I'm just going to do test here. You can name it whatever. You can keep that name because you may think it's really interesting. Whatever. And then you can just press enter to get out of it. So there's three basic spots of this Tinkercad website. Is number one, it's your work plane here in the middle, and what I'm doing is right clicking and holding and rotating around. Did you want a mouse? Or if you're, I've got one right here, but if you're a trackpad person, you can. So this kind of rotates so that you can look around. This is going to make more sense once we actually have something here. We have some tools that are up at the top, like copy, paste, duplicate. We're all going to go over those. Navigation stuff is on the left. You can see this box here where you can click specific parts of it and it will look at that particular view. Again, that's going to make more sense when we have things here. And then you have all the shapes that you can put in that are on the right, and it's more than basic shapes. There's a lot of extra things as well, design starters, things that have already been made. So depending on what you're doing, kind of fast track that, but you can always make things from scratch using the basic shapes. So we'll go ahead and add a shape. On the right hand side, we're going to go ahead and just pick this red box cube. You're going to click and hold it, and then you can drag it into the work plane. It's going to show you a wireframe. That means I haven't put it down yet. It gives you an idea so that you can see through it just in case you have other things that are on the work plane, and then you can let that thing go, and you have made your first model. Congratulations. That is the end of the workshop. Thank you for joining me. We are done. But no. So now this is where it makes sense. I can do that right click and I can move around and see what I have modeled here. If you didn't want it, clicking it, hitting delete or backspace gets rid of it. These are just some simple navigation things. Once I place it, I can then move it. What's nice about this is when you place it and then move it, it will show you dimension marks from the spot that you originally moved it. So if you're planning on having something spaced out, say 20 millimeters away, this gives you a nice way of doing that instead of trying to guess. This workspace, every block here, every small block resembles 1 millimeter, and every large block resembles 10 millimeters, which is 1 centimeter. You can change all of that stuff here at the bottom if you wanted to. You can edit the grid at the bottom of the work plane. If you're not a millimeters kind of person and you like imperial stuff because you're in the US, you can do inches, but you can set everything there. What's nice, let's say if you want to make multiple cubes, yes, you can drag multiple cubes in here. And what I was doing is Control Z. If you wanted to undo, let's say I moved this, but I didn't want to, hold down Control, hit Z, or the undo button that's up here, or redo. Instead of coming over here and pulling multiple blocks, you can hold down Alt and click and make an exact copy of that and move it. So holding down Alt, and it may be different for a Mac if you're on a Mac. So holding down Alt, clicking, still holding down Alt while I'm holding down the click makes you a copy, and you can move it and place it wherever you want to. Another neat thing is the duplication, which is basically copying, but there's something else that you can do with it. So up here in the upper left-hand corner is duplicate. That's Control D. That says duplicate and repeat. It's two functions in one. So I'm going to hit this. It's not going to do anything because it's duplicated it and repeated it in its same position. So what I can do now is drag this over, and I've duplicated it here. I can hit duplicate and repeat again, and it will repeat the movement and the shape. So if I want to make a lot of things in the same,
Is this a 3D printing thing?
the 3D modeling, yes, it is here. You're good. Did you want a computer to do any of this with us, or you just wanted to watch? Yeah.
I can just watch.
Okay. Because there's computers that you can rent behind the library help desk, but if you want to watch, that's fine.
So what are we making today?
We're hoping to get to some of this. So at least the die, we're at least going to hit the die. This is easy to do, like a keychain. You can do anything like that, a cup, and this is the grand finale if we ever get to it, which may not happen today. Thor's hammer.
I see one of those the lady showed me around and you have a little Thor hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But that's in 2 pieces, correct?
It is. This is one, but you can make it into two. You can make it into multiple parts. So that's the duplicate. So if I keep moving it, it'll keep doing that. You can also do something really interesting. Am I supposed to be showing you that now? No, not yet. I'm going to keep going with my script here. Again, we're not going to just mess with the cube. You can do a lot of other things on your own. There's a ton of stuff that you can mess with. Not that one. I'm getting out of that. Goodness gracious, no. So another navigation thing to look at is that, yes, there's rotation. Yes, there's movement. But let's say I make a lot of things and I need to get, say, over here in the upper left-hand corner. Well, rotating is not going to help me with that. This is where a mouse is really good, but you can still do it without one. If you have a scroll wheel, if you click on that scroll wheel, you're able to pan side to side, and I think you can still do the same thing by holding shift and right clicking. Yep, that's it. So holding down shift and right clicking gets you the ability to pan side to side. So rotate, pan, and with those basic functionalities, you can get kind of anywhere that you want to go. And then there's the zoom. So if you have the mouse wheel, you can zoom. If you have the trackpad, I think you can do 2 fingers on the trackpad, swipe up and down.
This doesn't look like
CAD? This is not CAD. The brand, like AutoCAD, but
similar to where you design dimensions and stuff and make objects, or
in a way. So this is probably your very basic. It is CAD, computer automated design, or drafting, but this is a web-based one that's very reachable for many people. If I were to do AutoCAD, a lot of people would be like, "What?"
so it's just like a simpler,
Very simple.
same concept that you want to put together objects.
Mm-hmm.
Could you build one of these?
I would go ahead and tell you you can have a good shot at building that. It would take quite a while, but I would recommend like Blender for that specifically. That
Is this a program that uploads it to be printed, or
yes, you can export these, and that's what we'll talk about near the end. Export these to a 3D print, and then you can print it.
So we're going over basics.
Yes. So navigation there, I can click this stuff here on the box that's up in the upper left-hand corner. That'll give me different views. If, say, you've panned over and you can't see anything, you have no idea where anything went, the home button here in the left-hand corner brings you back to that original view. That tends to happen sometimes. The box below it is a fit to selected shapes. So let's say I want to just look at that shape. I can click this cube. I could then hit that, and it's going to focus in on that particular shape. If I have nothing selected, it's going to show everything that's on my work plane. It's going to fit everything that's there. I can have multiple things selected, and it will focus in on those 3 things. And then if you don't have the scroll wheel and you don't like the sliding the mouse, there is the zoom feature. It only goes up by certain increments, so it's not the best. And then there's this last one, which is called Orthographic. If you know anything about CAD, you may understand what Orthographic does, but it puts it in a very 2D looking thing. I don't know how else to describe that, but it doesn't give you perspective. So 2 point, 3 point perspective, it makes everything flat. From an engineering perspective, this makes sense. You can see all three sides equally. There's no distortion of what it looks like. You would be able to say, okay, that is actually 20 millimeters or whatnot. But for me, I like looking at it in 3D view. Some of us, it's like, that is creeping me out. It's weird. You do whatever works for you. Mm-hmm. Most like AutoCAD things that you're talking about will be done in this orthographic view.
Well, I guess it's kind of 2D when you make all the different, drawing on it, but it's not an object yet.
Yeah, not yet. Okay, I'm gonna simplify this. Get me down to one box. You can do whatever. Editing shapes. So when you throw a shape in there, it automatically gives you a default. Sometimes maybe you've already been messing with this. You see some white dots and some black dots, and you see some rotation that you can do there. White dots usually will do 2 or more dimensions. You can reshape it so it's not only going to be a box, you can make that a rectangle. Again, this white box just flattens it, and as you are changing it, you can see the new dimension of your change. Again, this is in millimeters, so this currently right now is 2 millimeters. I'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little bit bigger. That's 2 millimeters of height. And then I can stretch that out, and we're starting to get very close to what this is, this particular model that we have. What else do we have? We have the rotations. So I'll zoom in a little bit for that. You should see arrows that give you a little bit of arc and pointing in 2 directions. I can take that and rotate. If you stay within the circle, it will rotate at, what is that dimension? Half of 45, 22.5 degrees. 22.5 degrees at a time. If you take your cursor outside of the circle, you can do it at 1 degree at a time. So a little bit more specific rotations here. Once you move it, I can rotate it again if I need to. If necessary, I can rotate it in another direction, depending on what you want. More specific on the outside, very big chunks on the inside. If you don't like it, undo. You're perfectly fine. And also, not everything needs to be on the work plane. Now, if you're 3D printing something, there needs to be something that's on the work plane. But let's say you're building a house and you're coming up with a roof. There's this little arrow that exists in the center of your design that allows you to levitate that. Who sang that song, Levitate? Do I know that? Never mind. Trying to be culturally relevant, and I bombed that. So anyway, again, the movements here, and it shows you here how far up you are from the work plane. So if you're doing something very specific, that allows you to kind of snap things together. Any questions so far? These are just the basics. Okay, so when you have, and I'm going to delete this and put in another cube just so that you can see. When you have a cube or any basic shape selected, each shape has its own things that you can change. So on the right hand side, which some of you have seen, it says box. And then it has a few things that you can change. There's solid and whole. We're going to get to whole later. It's going to be near the end. But there are some things that we can change with just the box. I'm going to zoom in on the box so you can see these changes. Radius. That gives a nice rounded edge.
Similar to the fillet.
Mm-hmm. Yes, your fillet. Sometimes there's a fillet that can be, I can do this to one step, and that gives me a nice chiseled fillet. And then if I add more steps, the more round it looks. So I'm going to drop it down to 5, and I'm going to zoom in. You can see out of those five little radius chisels that are there, those exist. It's easy to see with one. There's only one. I did something weird. Going back. My apologies. The online what?
It's all online.
Yes.
Yeah. Have them.
So two, you can see the two there, and it's just. And I can also do that on the model itself. So if I'm clicking on the black dot, you see that measurement that's here, I can click on that and type in there as well. So there's multiple ways to change the size.
So what's the dimensions of a roll dice? Six-sided dice.
The actual die, you know what? I don't even know that off the top of my head. I would say we can look that up.
I know I'm probably getting a little bit ahead here.
Slightly,
Um,
but it's fine.
we're gonna make a dice today, aren't we?
Yes.
Can you, when you're making it, you make one side of the dice heavier than the other side of the dice.
Mm, like a cheated weighted dice.
I never said that.
I cheated dice. What software? Sorry. Somebody asked something in the chat, and I am completely ignoring them. What software would you suggest for Sheriff Star with a name and a bump on the bottom side? Great question. You could probably do that here, um, but there is something that's called Fusion 360, and it's a more advanced version of CAD, and it's free to students. All you gotta do is put in your student account, and you have access to it. It is cloud based as well, but it is way better than what we're working on here. Fusion. I'll just type that. Fusion 360. And then there's Inventor. All that are free. Okay, back to this. Going back to solid, you can click on solid and you can change the colors. Ooh, it's pretty now. You can do whatever you want to. Just know that if you're doing this for 3D printing, it's not going to print that color because it is determined by the filament that goes in the printer. Just going to get you that. If you just want it to look cool, like if you're designing a house or pieces of furniture, you can make things look pretty. Ooh. And then there's transparency. You can click it so that you can see through it. So there may be something within your model. Say that we were doing a heavy sided die and there was extra model that we put in there and then we hollowed out one side, then you would be able to see that stuff that is there. Getting rid of, I'm going to move this out of the way. Going here, you're going to see a bunch of extra things. Like if I do cylinder, it's not all the same things. There's sides that make it a little bit more smooth. It goes down to 12, and then it starts to not look like a cylinder. It's got 12 sides to it. You can add a bevel to it as well to give that fillet. You can start making things look really interesting here, and that it starts to not look like a cylinder. You've got some other shapes here as well. What else does something weird? That's not anything interesting. The star is interesting as well. If you scroll down and get this little star here, you can change the amount of points. There is the radius, how big it is, and then there's this inner radius, which I'll zoom into so that you can see that. But it's this point right here, how far that goes towards the center. So you can make something like turbine-like. Say you were making something for the wind, you wanted to drill a hole in it. Uh, you could do that. That's getting sort of close to a gear, but there's a better way to do that.
No, I kind of like that too because there isn't a feature for that in SolidWorks, is there? Or some kind of design where you can adjust.
Maybe not. There's a lot of features in SolidWorks or Fusion 360 or Autodesk Inventor that allows you to do things very easy. But since this is very user friendly, they want you to have the ability to do these things without having to do too much.
Well, I mean that's kind of better.
Yeah.
So it's not overly.
So if you're wanting to design something like this, open up Tinkercad, do it, and print it. If you're wanting to do something way more advanced, then you're going to open up probably a different software. I'm going to move on to Scribble for purposes unknown to me. It's right under the box. I'm going to drop this in here. Once you let go, it's going to look at the work plane from the top. And then you can, you guessed it, scribble. It does not have to be.
Which dimension is this on? Axis.
top view. So the XY. But you can rotate it after you're done. You can see in the upper right hand corner is a preview where it is on the work plane, and you can see at the top what it looks like. You don't have to do it as one. You can write your name if you want to. So click, let go, click, let go. Yes, this is my name. Done. And you can see what that looks like up in the preview. Let's say you didn't want that. You can, of course, do the undo, or there is the erase feature that's at the bottom. So I can erase something in here. Maybe I didn't want that A, I wanted it to be an upside down V, or sort of a unicorn. I have no idea what that is. You can also do a shape, which is very limiting. You click and hold, and it draws from the center. See what I'm getting here? I'm still holding it. And then when I let go, I have made this shape. You can see that it is updated here in the upper right hand corner. And then also there is the erase with shape, which means I can kind of just draw a big circle around this if I didn't want it and erase it, or erase part of my design. So let's say I've made this design. I don't know what this is, a snickerdoodle that didn't turn out right. And then I can go in here and erase portion of it. So maybe I'm 3D designing something for uh, biology where I'm talking about a cell, and I'm just kind of cutting out spots and representing it. You can go crazy with it. Marshmallows. Trays? It's delicious. And then when you're done, you get back to the work plane. There you are. You can do that resizing like you could do in all the other ones. You can have it floating. You could do the rotation. All of it's there. You can do what you need to with that. I'm getting rid of that. Here's another one is the text. This one's simple. You just drag your text over. Where it says text, you can put in your own custom text. I can do my digital learning lab. You have very limited font choices. Just going to go ahead and tell you that. And then you can change the height, which that is way super tall. There is a bevel, which you can see what that does. And then there are the segments for that. And again, after I'm done with it, I can shape things. And that's text. Another thing, say you're 3D printing a ring. All the way at the bottom, there's ring. This one's different, and that's the reason why I'm showing you this. The only change that you're allowed is the profile that exists here on the right. So if you looked at a ring and you were to cut it and look at the thickness portion of it, this is roughly what it would look like. And you can change what that looks like. So I can drag these little dots to change the curve. And I'm going to try to look at this ring so you can kind of see that it has changed that top portion. I can move the squares to move that position somewhere else. And you're starting to see that it is shaping this into something different. Now, this may be the most uncomfortable ring ever worn, but it's something that you can do. Say you wanted to make it a little bit thinner, you could do that. Maybe you just want a big chunky donut, you could do that as well. You could curve that. I have no idea what you're trying to do with this, and maybe this is not even going to be a ring anymore. Maybe this is seating outside and you put a tree in the middle of it. You can get kind of funky with whatever you're wanting to do with this. That wouldn't be too bad of a chair, I guess. Depends on what you're doing. So there's ring.
For creative design, I really like this program, this feature, because it's so, no, it makes everything, it's like auto do, it helps you be a little more creative.
Mm-hmm. When you do stuff like Fusion 360 and Autodesk Inventor and you stare at it, especially Blender, you're going to look at the screen and you're going to get overwhelmed. And I know, at least for me, sometimes I would cry. Oh my goodness, why there's so much stuff here. Again, YouTube will help you out, but goodness gracious, there's a lot. This is very simple. And if you wanted to 3D print something, you could get something in here for 5 minutes, throw it on the printer, and be done.
It's kind of like a stress relief a little bit too. If you just tinker with it a little bit, do
Wait,
something that's not offensive to my guys.
some people may have not seen my stress relief.
Little pro tip.
There you go.
Get stressed out.
Okay. Where are we at? Ring. Okay. Now here's where the magic happens. Let me go back to home. Wow, what happened there? What are you? Oh, okay. There we go. Here is what is going to happen. I'm going to draw 2 boxes here. You can do whatever, but I'm just showing you a concept. Let's say I want these boxes to always be together. Every time I move it, every time I shape it, every time I do something different with it. I can click, hold, and drag to select everything. I can multiple select it, like click this, hold down shift, click the other one. Easiest way is to do that. In the upper right hand corner of the screen, you'll see what looks like a square and a circle combined into one shape. That's called group. If I hit that, it's also Control G. It groups those 2 things. So now once I move it, it will always move together. It will always reshape together. So let's say I change the height. That's always going to change. Let's say I change this particular dimension. It's also going to change both of those at the same time. That's nice if you make multiple things that are not necessarily connected together and you're wanting to lay them somewhere. Let's say you're making a bench and all the pieces of wood are stripped across and you wanted to make that first and lay it on top of something. You could definitely do that. Do that very quickly. Let's make a copy, move it over. This is a very crude top of the bench, but I can group that, and now everything moves together, and I can set those on top of some legs or something. What's really nice is if you are making new custom shapes. So for everybody, if you've not done this before, it'd be probably a good idea to try this. Drag a box in, and then you'll see that there are 2 different shapes that we haven't talked about. It is the box and the cylinder that are kind of like grayed out. Those are holes. So I'm going to take this cylinder and drag it over here.
So that's like extrusion.
It's like, yeah, it's a minus. It's like the reverse of extrusion, but does the same thing as an extrusion. So as you can see, this is kind of transparent. It's see-through. It's not using that transparency that we talked about. But I'm going to kind of overlay this hole on the box like this. You can do it however you want to. You can center it or whatnot. I'm going to select both of these, and then I'm going to group. And what that's going to do is it's going to take away that section of the solid material with whatever the hole was. And then it's gone. Now this is one piece that I can adjust and do whatever I want to with it. This is where this feature is really nice to start making custom shapes for things that you want, whatever that thing may be. So as an example, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to do that duplicate. I'm going to move it. I'm going to do a little rotation, and then I'm going to start duplicating this thing. And now I did it just a little too much here. I'm going to group it. This is awful, but this could be a gear or a snowflake or something. But say I wanted this to actually be a gear, and I want to put a little axle into this. I can move that. Oh my goodness. I can move that roughly center, which I'm going to tell you how to center things here in a minute. And then I can just group it. And there I go. That almost looks like one of those Girl Scout cookies. I don't even. Samoas? There we go. The hole needs to be a little bit bigger, and there needs to be some chocolate on this thing. But
So it looks like complicated design stuff to do on this program. Like you're trying to make that look like a gear.
You can, yeah. If I'd spent more time doing it, I could have made that look like a gear. But I just
draw custom cutouts and stuff like that, custom features, or is it all done by different shapes that they give you?
shapes, and I'm going to show another thing. Like if you find something that's online and you want it, I'll show you how to throw it in here.
I was going to ask you about that, but like on this program here, you don't have the. It just, do you have the option of being able to draw sketches?
Yeah, so there's only two ways of doing it. There's that terrible scribble thing, which is awful, which I showed you, or you can draw something on paper really heavily with marker or pencil, scan that, and then you can import it as an SVG, which I'll just show you here in a minute. Actually, that's what's next. So let's say I don't want to go through the process of trying to model something. Let's say I like Batman. I don't want to try to model that thing. You can import what's called an SVG, which is a scalable vector graphic. I just searched up something here. Let's say I want this in here. I want that as a 3D model immediately. No effort. I didn't do it, but I'm going to be proud of myself for downloading something and putting it in here.
I seen that up there too.
I can go to import, choose the file. I've already downloaded this one, but it has to be an SVG file, no PNGs, no JPEGs or anything. It doesn't work that way. I can take that, open. I may have to change the dimensions because the SVG may be very, very large, or it could be very, very small. I'm going to drop this down just a little bit, and then I'm going to import. And it's immediately going to take that and make it a model, which then I can do all the things that I've been able to do with it like I have before. I can even go crazy and say that this is mine, and I'm not even going to really try and write my name. There it is. I'm going to hit done. I'm going to throw that thing on here. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to group it, and there's my model. I can 3D print this with my name on it. I can throw it around like a batarang if I wanted to, whatever.
Hey, so I like how you can import different objects that you've either created. You have a foreign object. That's a complicated design.
Mm-hmm.
Can you put together objects? Do they have rotation features to this, or can you put together a complicated project in this program?
It depends on how much time you want to put with it, because there may be something very complicated. If you were to look on Tinkercad Advanced Designs, you're going to see like Call of Duty ray gun, for instance.
I was
If
thinking more like I sketched a car engine as a project
mm-hmm.
because I was thinking about going into mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, so but
Yeah, those will be a bunch of individual pieces put together to give the 3D view.
you could do that on this program then.
You could. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a lot harder than if you tried it in Fusion 360 or Autodesk Inventor.
True,
But you could do it, most definitely.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I like how you can change the sizes on this. It makes it really easy. Now, snapper, that's 10 millimeters, right? That's the entire blue grid's 10 millimeters.
Each one of these little boxes is 1 millimeter. This large box is 10 millimeters, and this whole entire thing, as it's set up right now, is 200 by 200 millimeters. But you can change that. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You can put it in inches.
All right. So if I well, since this is a complicated design, it would be cheaper to make your own miniatures.
Mm-hmm.
It would be to buy them.
Yes.
Or you can make them full.
Yeah.
If I design one of these, took me a year, put that on this program, could you quick change, let's say a hair feature, make it look more natural or something? Details and stuff like that? Maybe make
I'm
the
not.
arm bigger.
I'm not. Well, once you import a model in there, like if you bought that model and you put it in here, you wouldn't be able to do too much changing in this program. You'd probably be better changing it in something advanced like Blender.
Or like an edit feature.
Hmm.
If you wanted to throw it together before you print off, you might want to check it. You might want to change if you did make the speaker a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that this is good for that. So we've got about 17 minutes. Let's hit this die real quick. But does anybody want? Does anybody need anything else? Any questions about something else? Okay. So let's do this real quick. I should just be hitting home. I don't know why I'm going through this. If you want to make this with me, drag a box. This is your choice on however you want to do it. If you like your die like that, then no changing for you. If you want to add a little bit of curvature to it, you go right ahead. If you want to add some steps to make it a little bit more smooth, you go right ahead. I would not recommend at this current moment changing the size of it until we're finished putting the little dots in there. So let's just keep it as the 20 by 20 that's there. And if you're interested, I mean, my favorite color is purple, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, even though it means nothing. So going back to what we originally made, so we're doing these dots. And if you were able to kind of keep up with what was going on, I can take a cylinder, lay them in partially to my cube, and then I can group them to remove that cylinder portion out of my box. So there's going to be a really easy way of doing this instead of laying cylinders one by one in here. Let me go back to this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lay this cylinder hole here, and I'm going to go ahead and resize this thing to like 2 by 2. This may work out. Yeah, that's going to be fine. So what I've done is made it 2 length by 2 width, and I've stuck it here in the corner of one of these squares. This is going to help us with what we're trying to do.
And you're gonna drag the dice on top of it.
You can go another way. You can, though, if you want. Now, we're going to use the copy feature, so you can do the Alt click if you want. And I'm going to make 2 more copies like this across the top. And what I'm now going to do is highlight all 3 of those. I'm not going to group them yet, but I'm going to select them all. And then I'm going to copy those 3, and then those 3. And I'll do that again. So highlight all 3. I'm holding down Alt. I'm clicking. I'm dragging to here, and I'm letting go. And I'm holding down Alt and dragging here and letting go. What I'm going to do is just for the benefit, so I'm not looking at such a tall set of holes, I'm going to highlight everything and just kind of drop it down really low, probably to 5, just so I can manage it. Because once you got all these things that are really high and you're looking at it really close, you're just going to fill your screen with a lot of model. That's unnecessary. Now a die has 6 sides. I'm going to highlight this entire thing, and I'm going to make 5 copies of this. I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm going to click, move over here. I'm going to click and move over here. Instead of doing that 3 more times, I can highlight all 3 of these. Alt and copy down. There we go. Solved. I like the much simpler days of trackpads where if you just click the trackpad anywhere, it just clicked, in my opinion. But
I like how you can draw out sketches
mm-hmm.
and use a extrude feature to make that one have all this extra work.
Mm-hmm. Again, you're going to see some good things with this, and if you're like really advanced with CAD and you've got all these great ideas, you're going to see some things that it's just not going to be able to do. This is a very introductory CAD. You can get a lot done with it. Just may not be everything to your heart's desire. But you can import a very complex item into here and say just put your name on it or just make a really quick change or cut something off. But in terms of really editing something like that, it probably needs to be somewhere else. Now, after we've made all 6 of these copies, we're going to partially destroy them um, in a way. We have 6 sides of the die. We have 6 different numbers. You're going to go in and delete everything that doesn't need to be on one particular side. I'm going to start with 6. So this one right here, I'm going to make this look like a 6. So I'm going to select these, and then I'm going to delete it.
So you're going to copy the shapes and you're going to paste them on the side.
Here I just made my 6 by deleting the middle 3. I'm going to make my 5. I'm deleting these. There's my 5. Make your 4. And you kind of start to get the gist here. Instead of making each of these individually, it was nice to set us up with this 3x3, and then everything now looks even. I'm realizing that since I did the alt method, it has made 2 copies of everything. So I'm having to delete it twice. Did not think about that, but that's fine. And there you have all 6 sides. So since we're sort of running out of time, I'm going to show you the last step, but you repeat it 3 times. That's all that you do. Is you're going to group every number together. So highlight all of them, group it so it stays together. Highlight your 5, group it, do what you need to, group. Here's my 2, and there's no need to group the 1 because it's only one thing.
Wait, is that supposed to be 6?
Right here? Yeah. So here's how this is going to work. I'm going to start with the 6, and I'm going to do everything on this top side of the die. I'm going to select my 6. You can start with any number, really. I'm going to bring it over here. I'm just going to hide it in there. Doesn't matter. I'm going to select both of those things. I wonder if it did. Try again. I'm going to select both of those things, and there's one tool that we haven't talked about, and it's alignment. You can guess if you want to put it in the center, but the alignment tool is really nice. So if you got 2 or more things selected, which I do, in the upper right hand corner where you've done the group, if you go over to the right, you'll see like it looks like a bar chart that's going off to the right. It's a line. When I click this, you're going to see some black dots exist. You can align the 2 things centered or left aligned or right aligned. So you can't see my dots, and I apologize, but I can click this dot and it will center it in the middle that way. And I can click this dot and I'll center it in the middle on this way. You know what I really should have done is I should have done this. I'm going to float this thing up in the air so that you can see it. There. I'm going to offset it. I don't know that thing is in the middle. So that's what I was going to do. Highlight both of them. Align. Click the middle one here. You see that it snaps aligned here, and click the middle one there. It snaps that way. And if I look at it, the thing is centered. Now, this is your choice on what you want, how deep you want that hole to go into the die. That is flush with it. It's not going in. There's a little bit, and then there's another one. I wouldn't go super deep because then you're just going to put a big old hole in your die. I maybe go 1 or 2 levels in, highlight the thing, group it. There's your die.
And that's a completed feature.
Yep. And all I would do from this moment, anybody know how a die is set up? What's the opposite numbers? Right? Each parallel side equals 7. Okay, so if 6 on this side, the other side is 1. 3's on this side, the other side is 4. All I'm going to do the other one, instead of having to like try to figure it out by rotating and doing this, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to flip that thing upside down, I'm going to put my 1 right there with the same process. And then I'm going to rotate to the other side, and I'm going to keep doing that, do the opposite sides, and then whatever 2 numbers are left, I'm going to do those there.
So how do you complete a feature?
What do you mean by that?
Like when you drill with those extrudes on the base,
Mhm.
then you finish it to where cut it out, but you can see the extruded feature.
Oh, when you group things, they just go away. Is that what you're saying?
Like with the 6, you put enter or something.
Oh, so I'll do it. I'll do it on the 1. So I'll flip this. Let me drag my 1 over here. Make that higher. So let me do my align real quick. That's in the center. Make sure 1, 2. So I'm highlighting both. I'm up here. I'm hitting group, and it's just going to take that hole and take that chunk out of it. That's all it does.
It's not really completing, it's more like jigging around and still have a feature option.
Yeah. And you can do this. It doesn't have to be a 6-sided die. Say you play Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. You can find a shape that is a multi-sided die. I don't know where that is. It's in here though. That's not it. It's in here. Um, but you can do the same method with all those sides as well. 20-sided die. Whatever. I'm going to finish this just because I hate leaving things unfinished. I don't know about you. But if anybody has any questions, this is the time to ask. I got 3 minutes left. Um,
So are you the director for 3D science?
no, I am just the guy that sits upstairs in the digital learning lab because we have the 3D printers and laser engravers and robotics and stuff. And if students want to check those things out or use them for a project or something personal, I'm the guy you come talk to.
So does it make you a teacher or does it make
Nope.
you like a counselor or a
I
bachelor?
used to be a teacher for 7.5 years, and I have found myself here. I do like this is teaching, so it does this part is teaching, but I'm not a faculty member. I'm staff. Um, I'm here to help y'all with things that you need to do. But we also have a green screen recording studio, so if you're recording things, um, we have all that.
So what do you do for a living?
This,
Oh, you can do this as well?
yeah, this is my job.
It's not something you like to do, but teaching just wasn't, staff wasn't your thing? Or
Teaching was fun, um, but I like this a lot better.
understand.
You don't know what you're going to get every day. Somebody may come in and they want to do this thing. Okay, well then you got to help with that. It's not like I'm teaching a lesson every day to the same 20 students. So, any questions, concerns, problems, issues? Bless you. Oh, the arrow. So once it's like your dots, so once it's selected, that little arrow that's right there, you just click and hold it and drag it. Is that what you wanted? Okay. And again, if you were at home watching this or you're here and you modeled this and you want to 3D print it, um, my information is on this website somewhere. My face, unfortunately, where it says make an appointment. Nope, that's not it. I'm somewhere here. Um, you can come to our website. It's the Alcorn Digital Learning Lab. If you go to the Catawba Library website and you go over to quick links, you'll see Alcorn Digital Learning Lab. That is our website. Everything is there. If you want to make an appointment with me, you want to learn about our tools and equipment that we have 360 camera stuff as well. If you want to reserve those to use those in the space, that is your time to do it. So if you have made something through this tutorial and you want to print it, make an appointment with us, reserve a piece of equipment. If you want to reserve time on the 3D printer, myself or the student workers that work in the space will be there to assist you, or you could just email me directly. Um, and my contact information is somewhere here. It has disappeared for some reason, but it exists. But I'm here at the library from 8 to 5 every day. As I see that there is nothing else in the chat, I'm going to uh, end the stream. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. End it.